Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of the Right Way Wednesday. Today I have with me Betsy Mitchnicki. That's a mouthful for me. Sorry.
That's okay.
She's going to talk with me today about speech pathologist's role once PDPM comes into effect. And I thought it was important to talk about this, and because I'm a speech pathologist, and so are you, and we really wanted to sort of kind of dispel some myths, because I've been hearing a lot lately, Betsy, that speech pathologist roles are really going to change pretty significantly once PDPM goes into effect. And I'm just wondering your thoughts about whether or not there's any validity to that, and if so, how might our roles change?
Yeah, I definitely see the role of the speech therapist changing under PDPM. It's pretty exciting that speech therapy under PDPM is recognized as its own separate and distinct component versus today in RUGs, where PT, OT, and speech are grouped into one therapy bucket. With PDPM, the speech therapy component really focuses in on cognition, speech-related comorbidities such as CVA, hemiparesis, TIA, dysphagia, aphasia, things to that nature. If there is a presence of a neurological condition as the reason that their patient is there for a skilled stay in your facility, as well as signs and symptoms of a swallowing disorder, and if there's a mechanically altered diet provided. So I see the speech therapist being further integrated into the IDT team than they ever have been before. Their speech therapists are going to be key in recognizing the signs and symptoms of a swallowing disorder in Section K. So communication and collaboration with nursing, dietary, social work, as well as PTOT is going to be crucial to not only providing appropriate care plans, but also capturing all of those services provided accurately on the MDS. One of the other things I also see changing with the SLP is really being on an even playing field with PT and OT. So no longer are the days where speech therapists only work 5 days, Monday through Friday, and don't provide any evaluations or treatments over the weekend. We only have 7 days in the look-back period to capture all of those 5 speech components. So we're going to need speech involvement really early on so we don't have any missed opportunities.
Yeah, that's right. I do see this sort of leveling out a little bit, because I know that speech pathologists don't necessarily, in some communities and some facilities, play as big of a role as PT and OT do currently. And I think you're right. I think there will be at least somewhat a bigger need for that collaboration a little bit more. Yeah. So we talk a lot on this page about documentation to support our services. I mean, that's why we're here, right, for the most part. And we know now that documentation relies heavily on therapy services, right? That's what auditors are looking at, because that's what's driving the payment. And once PDPM, at least for Part A, goes into effect, that's all going to change, right? So how might, and typically, PT and OT didn't have to worry about supporting speech and vice versa. So when we're thinking about physical therapists and occupational therapists and nurses, how might they help better support speech therapy or the need for speech therapy in their documentation? What are some tips for that?
Absolutely. I think PT and OT are really going to have to embrace and understand cognition and swallowing, and really support any of those issues with those two areas in their evals and daily notes. One of the things that we're going to be doing is having OT complete the BIM now on all evaluations, and that's going to be key to not only support speech therapy services, but also help provide care planning for the facility, help them capture cognition. We're seeing the resident very early on in their stay to complete the BIM. So we're potentially seeing them at a different time than social work when they complete the BIM. So I think that those areas are just going to be key in helping support the speech therapy services provided.
And really making sure they document all of that and what, like their evaluation, even daily notes too, right? Any changes.
Yeah.
That they're saying. So let's think about the flip. So PT, OT, nursing can help support our services. How can we as speech pathologists, when we're documenting, better support their services as well, because it really is going to need to be a true collaboration. So what are some tips for us who are typically just thinking about what we're doing? How can we better support what they're doing too?
Yeah, we've been internally focused on having our therapists and clinicians work at the top of their license and really maximizing their skill set. And speech is no different in this. I think we need speech therapists need to focus on documenting to support the services provided, really honing in on that skilled terminology. We are providing a very highly skilled service, but unfortunately it just doesn't always show in the documentation. So really brushing up on their skilled terminology and really focusing on what progressions have been made. And I think that's a huge one, as when we have charts that are reviewed to support medical necessity, cognition is one of those areas that we've historically seen poor supportive documentation on all fronts: nursing, speech therapy, PT, and OT. And it's been really hard for us to really capture that skilled service provided in our documentation. And there's just often not enough progression made due to whatever diseases and comorbidities that they have, but we're not always doing a good job of capturing the limitations and the services provided despite. Another key area is really focusing in on that patient and caregiver education and documenting teach back. So it's really just a lot of the same things as today, honestly, but it just needs to be a continued focus.
Right. And we talk a lot about not getting generic and repetitive. And I think that's one of the things, especially with speech, that I see a lot when I'm doing reviews. It is a lot of over and over documenting how the patient ate and what signs and symptoms they demonstrated without that true, what did we do, skilled component. We sort of miss that piece. I know we're doing it, we're just not getting it on paper. So yeah, that'll be really important. Sure. Any other words of wisdom for our speech therapists before we go?
No, I mean, it's an exciting time. I think that we need to embrace that our clinical expertise is going to be more highly valued than ever before. So it's exciting, and I think just embrace the change and let's be excited about it.
Yeah, I am excited about it. I actually really believe this is going to be great, not just for our residents, but for us too in the long run, because it will allow us to do that. So thanks, Bessie. I really appreciate it. Thanks so much for watching. Thanks, Bessie, for being here. If you have any questions for Bessie or for me, you can write them in the chat box below or send us a message. We would love to help you with any of that. Thanks so much, and happy documenting.